And she told me she needed money because she said there's no food. So I must have had about £80 in sterling left. I'll never forget. I gave, said, all right, hold that. And I said, I'll come and see you later once I've done my exam. I went to get my son now. I found my sister there with him and her sister. So I said, where is she? She said, she's gone out. So I said, I thought she's supposed to be doing food shopping for the kids. Not just my one, but the other two. And someone told me she's gone Birmingham raving.
What's going on, people, and welcome back to the Baby Fathers podcast for another brand new episode. I'm your host, and I go by the name of DJ Riddler. Before we start today's video, I need you lot to do me a big favor. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and share, and press the notification button. So anytime a brand new episode comes out, you lot are going to be the first to know. All right. So on today's show, we got another special guest. He goes by the name of Sean. How you doing, Sean?
How you doing?
I want to say thank you for coming down today, my bro.
Thanks, that's all right.
What made you come down to the Baby Fathers?
Well, you know, there's been issues with my own situation, with my own children. I do a bit of campaign, as you know, beforehand with Equal Star. We're trying to get parity for dads and mums in the UK. We deal with parental alienation in my activism work, all parliamentary group in Westminster, where we help out. We're trying to change the political framework, the legislation, so it benefits everyone. And I want to come down here and talk with you so we can raise awareness about that.
Wicked. Sounds good. All right. So listen, before we get into your story, I have to put a disclaimer out there. All right. So anything what you say today is your truth and it's your truth only. No one can't say anything different because it's coming from you to how you see it to be. All right. How many kids do you have?
I've got 3.
You got 3. From the same mother?
No, 2 different women. First son is with a lady from South London, and I've got a wife where I've got 2 kids. We've been together 16 years now. Okay, so
the one you had the situation with clearly is the first mother with your son. How did that story first start?
We got together about 05, 06. Reasonable. She was a reasonable lady, very charismatic. On the surface, you think, it'd be a lovely relationship. I said, you know, at the time I had a little shared housing, so I thought, let's see how things go. I don't want anything too serious because I said I've got a little, a couple part-time jobs. Got my little Golf Mark III. So I said, I was styling. I had my little shared housing, so whenever I had any ladies, I could bring them around, no problem. And this one, she said, I'm looking for something more serious. Well, I said, nah, I'm not too sure. And 6 weeks later, she told me she was up the duff. So I said, remember I told you, I don't really want to be locked down at 24, 25.
So did you tell her in the beginning you wasn't looking to have kids, or?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. To be fair, let me clear that up. Yeah, in the beginning, before we even slept together, I told her, I said, look, obviously I'm a student. I got 2 little part-time jobs. You see me in my thing. I'm trying to make a life. I said, I'm not in a financially stable enough place to be entertaining long-term relationships. Let's just see how things go. I was not saying it's impossible, but let's see how things go for a while.
So did she tell you she was on a pill, or you chose not to use condoms?
No, she was on. I used to see her take it still. Okay. Yeah, so to be fair, she already had 2 children from 2 different men. Okay. So that was the thing. So I said, I'm not really. Because I said, if it was from the same man, I said I would have been more copacetic with it. But when she told me it's 2 different men and she was only 24, I said, nah, I'm not really.
So was it more like a link, or was you actually in a relationship with her?
Well, I say it's a link, but then when she told me she's breeding, and I thought, I said, I don't want to be a deadbeat dad. So I said, all right, I'm going to give you about a year or 2, see if you can walk the path of redemption. Because I said, my maternal grandmother, she had 4 children with 4 different men before she married my granddad. And they were together for 42 years before he died. So I said, look, I'm not saying it's irredeemable, but I said, I need to see, progressive things from you.
And at the time, you wasn't judging her?
No, not really, because, well, I suppose inwardly, I think, it's a bit heated. But I said, you know what, we get along. She used to come around, to get me. When she used to come to my shared house, she used to bring the little groceries.
So was you willing to play the father role to her kids?
To be fair, initially, no, not really, because obviously the time I thought, it's a lot of responsibility. I said, let's see how things go. I said, if a year or 2, and I said, then maybe it can develop like with my grandparents. I said I'm reasonable with that.
And was their dads around? Her kids' dads was around?
The first son's dad was around. He used to take his son every other weekend. So and then the second one, his dad went around. So to be fair, I did like the second one. For some reason he preferred me more than my own son eventually. Initially, when she told me she was pregnant, after about 4 or 5 months, because what happened, she lived with her mother still, and her half sister. And I said, look, it's a 3-bedroom house. You've got 2 kids. Your daughter's got a newborn. Your mum's got a child that's the same age as your middle son. So it said, this is the structure. They said, I know your thing. I said, I don't really come from that. In my household, nuclear family, mum and dad married for years, and said there's two brothers, my brother and I got one sister, and I'm not used to that. So I said, what will I do? I'll move you out. I'll go and find you a private accommodation. And I said, whatever the housing benefit won't pay, I will pay on top.
Okay.
So that's what we done. I moved her to Fulton Heath.
And how did she introduce the kids to you when you?
Yeah, see, that was a bit that was flames. That was a bit odd.
And how did that go?
I told her I
down?
didn't want to meet her children until we've been together at least 4 or 5 months. By this time though, she told me she was pregnant. So I said, all right, I'll meet them, but not right now.
But within how many months did meet them?
Well, to be fair, she soon after she was pregnant, what she done, she said, come to meet her one day on the road where her mother lived. And then I came to meet her and they came out. So she kind of twisted, she kind of coerced the situation.
And said, this is my boyfriend?
Yeah. No, she just said, oh, this is my friend. She never said boyfriend. Okay. But obviously the eldest was 7 then, so he already knew the play. He wasn't simple. So he knew the play. So obviously I was reasonable with him, said, hello, how you doing? Yeah, you being good boys for your mum and things like that. Yes, general chit chat. And then over the period, in the next couple of months, I had to go to her mum's.
So, what was your relationship with her first son?
Now, to be fair, initially he was a bit standoffish, but when he see that I was coming quite often compared to, obviously he was seeing me back that time more than his own dad. So he started to warm to me, surprisingly. And I always thought I'd have problems with him because he used to be cheeky to his mother and say some outlandish stuff. Like I said, what? I said already he's judging and he's only 7, 8 years old. And
how was your relationship with the second child?
Yeah, the seconds, he embraced me straight away, which I found a bit intense at first because I said, look, I've only just come along. And I think, if I leave or someone else comes, it's going to be the same thing. It's all a bit trifling and confused. I don't believe that young children really should be introduced to new partners unless you've been through them at least 6 months.
When did it start going wrong in your lot's relationship?
To be fair, I'd say within a few months. It wasn't initially before my son was born. Even though we'd have periods of where it's calm and peaceful and we get along, we'd have serious arguments. So I said, you know what, I can't put up with you. You're not. So you're not serious enough with the finances. When I'm telling you, like when I'm going to work and that, and I'm minding your other kids that are not mine, I need you to come back so I can go back to work. Because at the time I had a market research job.
So when you're saying you need her to come back from where? So when she used to disappear. Is it she used to disappear for hours or she used to disappear for days?
No, hours. Like, say, for instance, I had a shift pattern, usually 6 till 10 after university or on the days where I had off. And she'd be like, oh, I'm going to come back. I'm just going to go shop or I'm going to go out with my friend. I said, yeah, no problem. I mean, I got my son in them way there.
So you're watching your son and your kids?
Yeah, of course, yeah, but obviously I have to mind them. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm having my child and letting them run wild. So I said, listen, I want you to embrace my structure. I know I'm not your dad, but I want you to embrace this structure.
Things have obviously now gone left in your lot's relationship. She wasn't coming home when you was meant to go to work. When you was completely done with her, what happened after that?
I just went back to my place, and then eventually, a few months later, I got my 1-bedroom council place. So I moved further out from Strattonville to Wimbledon. So, because my son was young and I didn't want any, too much of males coming around him while he was under a year old, I still used to see her for the carnal part. So
when you was co-parenting of her, when you've both finished, did she get into another relationship pretty straight away?
Not that I was aware of. I knew there's people that liked her even when I was with her. So, but it's the way she was. So I didn't expect no different.
Was these her friends?
Yeah, well, I had no proof, but I suspected they weren't. Some of them used to do DIY stuff for her, paint, help her with fix her car engine when she had trouble. So, but I didn't mind that because by that time I was already campaigning again. So I said that's all right. I said all I'm saying is that try and minimize the corruption around the children because they're all under 10. And said if you keep doing that, I said what will happen? You move on. they come in and see the situation, 3 boy children, different men, they're not going to say that as much as you want it and you may desire it, it's unlikely they're going to stay around more than 5 minutes. So I said, you need to think about that before doing all this. But it's like the mindset was like, oh, well, you know, my mother done this because her mother had 3 children, 3 different men. Okay. And then her grandmother is something similar.
So it's like a pattern in their family.
So I said, this generation said, yeah, that's not something I can be part of long term. So I said, look, I'm trying to do my best with the coping, but I said the best thing is that you live your life, I live mine. So I said, what I'll do is have my son as much as possible. So at this point, I was having him 3 days a week.
Okay.
For the first 3 years of his life, he was like that.
And then
I would have him on my days off from university because I used to get 2 days off in the week. And then I keep him Friday. And then when I used to do my security door work, nightclub work, I'd give him back. And then I'd come to my parents on a Sunday and find him there. So he said, wait a minute, how long has he been here? From when you went to work on Friday, he's been here since. So I said, you're effectively only having Monday and Tuesday since he was like 7, 8 months old until he's free. So I said, I'm going to have to look about full time because I said, you're not up to it. No, that can't work. That's my child. I'm the birthing parent. I said, yeah. I said, anybody can be an incubator, just like any man can be a sperm donor. I said, the real mother strives.
So did you go for full custody after?
No, that took a while. When I was in my sophomore year at university, I went and saw Duncan Lewis solicitors in Tooting. And I tried to show them, because I was keeping a dossier at this time about some of the incidences, like leaving him in his own, too much men around, and obviously the little narcotics and things like that. I said, listen, I don't want him around there. So he said, you know what, you're in shared housing. And he said, how would you house him in terms of because it says sofa bed in your bedroom, because you're living in one room. He said, it's unlikely the courts will give you full residency, full custody. So I said, and also you're not in a stable relationship. He said, you're going to have to change that. They want to see there's a woman around that because basically step in. So I said I found that a bit odd because at the time I was thinking idealistically, like, yeah, super dad, and I take him and then build my empire. And, you know, come and live with me, kind of like Bjorn in Vikings with Ragnar when he took his son. So I said, yeah. I said, I'm gonna do something like that. And I realized that's when I first come across the cultural barriers. They were like, oh, well, why would you want to do that? He should be with his mother. So basically that's what this is telling me. So I said, unless you get that in place, he said, the most you can hope for is shared custody. So I said, well, that's reasonable, at least, because obviously I said, he obviously has to see his mother. So I said, yeah, I'm going to try and go off there. He said, look, this is the money. So I said, at them time there, with the money I said, yeah, I can afford that. So we went on like that for another 5-6 years, where I'd try and keep him as much as possible. And I started to say, you know what, when he was at my parents', where I'd say, listen, stop dropping off my parents. I don't want them to be constantly coming in and trying to parent us when we're dealing with our own child. But I realized it was probably better that he spent, when I was doing the door work, when I used to go out and work at night on the weekend, that he's with them, because then it would minimize the contact with the kind of lifestyle she's having, the kind of characters she had around, and the different men and the lifestyle problems.
So is this stuff what you're saying? Do you know that as a fact?
Yeah, no, it's a fact. It's a fact. Okay. It's a fact. That's part of the reason why I left her. The day we mashed up, she went to Birmingham. I came back from Jamaica to see my granddad. He had prostate cancer. And I had to go straight into a new media journalism exam. And she told me she needed money because she said there's no food. So I must have had about £80 in sterling left. I'll never forget. I gave, said, all right, hold that. And I said, I'll come and see you later once I've done my exam. I went to get my son now. I found my sister there with him and her sister. So I said, oh, where is she? She said, oh, she's gone out. So I said, oh. I said, I thought she's supposed to be doing food shopping for the kids. Not just my one, but the other two. And someone told me she's gone Birmingham raving. So I rang up and said, where are you? She said, oh, I'm just out and about. I said, do I look like Booby the Fool? Do I look like a mug? I said, where are you? Answer me. She said, oh, I'm out with my friends. Yeah, I've gone out. I said, where? Oh, in Birmingham. So I said, yeah, we're done. I said, I've had enough of you. Ramadan. That's it.
So that's when you got broke up?
Yeah, that's when I got rid of her. I effectively left there. I said, that's it. I'm done with you. I said, then she said, oh, you sure? I said, don't try and show off because your friends are there. said, I'm not putting up with that. We're finished. So I'll say for about 3 or 4 months, I was still looking after the carnal side of things. I said, look, I don't mind us, the relationship can't work between us. We're two different camps. You're the water, I'm oil. Yeah, so said we can't think, but I said to minimize the corruption, and I don't want too much, bucks coming in. And it's not just my son, but your children as well. I said, because what happened, they're watching you when you're doing that. So I said, I'll take care of the carnal pleasures, and I'll go about my free agent now. So to be fair, I made sure my cousin was there at the time, so she couldn't say, it's my word against hers. So she went and done that, so I cut all that. Once I heard about, she's seeing man again, then I said, I won't be seeing you no more. I'll stop the carnal side as well. I said, as long as I deal with my pitney and you don't block any access or play any games.
So you stopped looking after her 2 sons when she moved in, or when she started dating someone else?
To be fair, I still used to interact with them. Like when my son's birthday, I'll take them out.
But in terms of financing?
Like financing, to be fair, at the time I was only paying the rent, what the housing benefit wouldn't cover. So the only time I really got them anything is like, food shopping. Obviously, I'll buy food because everyone's in the house. But I wouldn't really buy no clothes and stuff like that for them unless it's a special occasion.
Honestly, we've more left it to their fathers to do that.
Especially the eldest, because his dad was around. A couple of times he used to come there and he says, your mum's new man, does he hit you? I heard one time when he was cutting his hair. And I spoke to him afterwards. Once he finished cutting his hair, I said, look, I appreciate you. I wouldn't want no one coming in and dealing my child like that. I can understand that. But I said, look, I made more time. So I said, we got to come to arrangement. And I said, I find that odd because me and you, because this man I actually knew, used to go to St. Andrews in Stockwell Park Estate when we were young. He was a couple of years older than me. So I said, look, I'm trying to be reasonable. You don't see your son saying about mishandling him. I said, your son's even drawing pictures of me in his primary school book instead of you. I said, don't you find that odd, even though you're seeing him every other week? But then I found out that he's a man that when he takes his child, he was giving it to his mother.
Okay.
So he wasn't
one
really,
of them ones,
So he wasn't doing what I was doing. You see what I mean? He weren't. So like I said, you just like you get miscreant mothers.
And what's your views on that? Fathers leaving their child at their parents' house, not spending time with them.
Personally, I don't rate it, but I said, look, I don't want anyone telling me what to do with my children, so I would rarely say anything unless they ask me. Yeah, but personally, I don't think that's a good thing because it's not only in terms of the responsibility. But I said, think about when they grow up, the relationship. You want to give them the best chance to have a good relationship with your children when they grow up because they said, you know what, my dad was there. My dad loved me regardless. So you want that. That should be the basis of any family, the interpersonal relationship, mutual benefit. You grow up, you say, look, they support me and that. We have a good relationship. So when you're old now, they're not like, I don't want nothing to do with you. Or I've seen like certain dads where they said, look, you're dying or you're terminally ill and they don't even want to come and look for you. Yeah. I said, I've seen molesters get things like that, have small contact. And you've got a child that is reasonable. You come from a reasonable background. Why don't you try and foster good relations? But some people, I realize inwardly, emotionally, they're not built like that. It's like there's a kind of barrier or distance or vacuum, or they've had problems with their own parents, and they're just repeating the pattern. It's serious. Where I used to think, my mother used to tell me about generational curses or, like certain traits in families. I said, nah, you got to be reasonable. You can't just judge it like that. But from the patterns I've seen, I can see why my mother used to say that now.
When you lot have now broken up, you've gotten on your life, she's getting on her life. Did she ever then stop you from seeing your child?
Nah, she used to try and say, you know what, she might have to drop a dime on me to this child maintenance service. But I used to say, listen, in my left hand is benefit fraud, in my right hand is social services. Which one do you want? So she stopped all that.
You talked about you was getting your child full time. Did that happen?
No. I went. To be fair, it was traumatic. To be fair, because I thought I had banged to rights and there was no way I couldn't get him. Because when I told you I kept a dossier. So over the things she done over years. When I finally snapped one day when she told me she never told me. My son told me, he came around and told me he had contact with a man that served 8 years for molestation.
She's moved on, you moved on. What happened after that into your new relationship?
To be fair, with my new relationship is, I say 7 months after I left her, I got with my second parent, my children's mother, the second one. So
the wife.
Yeah, well, the wife.
The
wife. Well, obviously she went the wife then, though.
Yeah, but you could give her the title. So
the wife,
your wife, who she is now, at the time she wasn't when you obviously met her, but you got with her. Did that cause any convictions between your last child's mother?
Yeah, I'd say there was a bit of jealousy there because obviously at the time my eldest got along well with her.
I'm sorry. So the child comes and sees you. Obviously, the mum had jealousy from time to time. What kind of things was she doing, showing you where she could be jealous?
She do silly things about, I hope you ain't paying happy families with my son. Well, the one time she came to meet us in Tooting, we came back from cinema, and she said, "Yeah, what's all this? I see you playing thing with her." I said, "Yeah, well, we've been together for a few years now, love." I said, "Look, we've gone cinema. You said you to think because at the time you're not driving." I said, "Neither was I." So I said, "Look, just come and meet us at Tooting." She come to Tooting and then she making statements like that off the cuff. So things like that. And then what was weird as well, every now and then she'll be like, "Oh, when she's collecting from my parents, because I used to go to my parents on a Sunday with him, have him the Friday, go Sunday, have Sunday dinner, and then she would collect him from my parents because it's on a few roads away. And she'd do things like, "Oh, can't I get a hug? I know you're with your partner, but come on, don't you see I'll give you a handsome son." There's one time even when I was first with her, she came round. I don't know what was wrong with her. I was in my dressing gown. She tried to undo the dressing gown while my current wife was in the bedroom. And I said, "Don't make a fool of yourself." I said, "My woman's next door. Don't be silly." "Oh, is that right?" She went in there to look at her. I said, "I know you're not being delusional, are you?" So it was stuff like that. Petty things I wouldn't do that with her, whoever she was dealing with knew. I wouldn't think. And then what I find amazing, she used to say, "Oh, you know what? I haven't seen anyone since you left me."
But she knows.
I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Then you're telling me about this other calling man named Sean that he's gone to see in Jamaica." I said, "It's like you don't even remember your own lies." You see what I mean? You're bamboozling yourself. I said, "I will log these things." So when you're telling me that when I'm pleasing you, we're getting along and you're trying to drop in these kind of manipulation, coercing me, I said, "Listen, from once you told me you're taking new man," I said, "that will never trouble you again." He said, "Never." He said, "Even if it crosses my mind," I said, "I'll never trouble you again. You've taken next man and then you had my pitney." I said, "No, I'm not going to put up." I said, "I mean it. I'm not like other men," but I said, "Yeah, you know what? Maybe, one or four, I'm in trouble or I'm not getting along with my client." I said, I'll never sleep with you again." So that was it. I'll never trouble that again after when she's started to have, relations with other men. Never.
I think men do have a problem with that. Like, if they know a man, well, certain men's have got different morals. So you understand, but my moral, if a man's been there, I couldn't go back to that. You understand? I have to keep on going straight, and that's that. You get me?
See, I agree with you there. Jeez. We need to. If more of us done that, there'd be better relationship, more discipline, more clarity.
So there was something you said a bit earlier on, what I want to touch on. So you said before that she was dating a guy who was allegedly, he was a child molester.
No, what happened is he was her sister's baby father.
Okay. And when that happened, what did you do as a father once you knew that?
I went straight to child services because I've had things when I'd flared up before, and then I've seen how it's gone. I said, you know what? If anything goes on, she'll go to the police. So I said, yeah, and I don't want to be. I'd already been, pulled up for an offensive weapon. So I said, no, I'm not going to go down that route. So I said, let me try and give the system a chance to work. So what happened now is when I went there to the child services, they were like saying, "Oh, why didn't you go to court straight away?" I said, because obviously it's a molester. So I said, I know they usually put in protections, child protection, so she has to have, supervised access or transfer residencies, because I said I want him full time. So I said, "Oh, but why would you want to do that?" I said, "Why wouldn't I?" I said, "There's a history of it in the family. So why would I want him full time?" I said, "I've tried to give her a birth, but he's like 7, 8 years old now. So I'm trying to give him a birth." No, that can't work. So the court hearings were delayed. So we never actually got to court till after he turned 10.
So how many years was that?
I'd say about 15 months.
All right. So once you've gone to court, what happened in there?
Diabolical. Went in there. At that time, I had a dossier that I'd provide the child services with, but they said you have to mention that in court. So when I went in there, they said, all right, we need to structure it into a court bundle where we can read it out, because at the moment you just kept like a journal. They said we need it in this structure, so they adjourned it. So again, the more delays. I had to go back there because I was self-representing. The money they were paying, I said I could only afford the $250 for the court fee at the time, but I couldn't have no brief. They were telling me about $250 an hour, and I was on £23 an hour. So I said, yeah, that don't work.
Yeah.
I can't afford that. I said, I don't have much savings, so that can't work. So I decided to self-represent. So once I've eventually read up on how to order the court bundle into the structure that they like, that they want to be presented, I went in for, yeah, I've got a banter right. So we went in there. She brought her sister. I brought one of my cousin and one of my friends that I used to work with, that was YMCA, Young Men's Christian Association. So we went in there and said, oh, well, you know, you can only bring in one person. So we done that. I said, yeah, she can. I don't mind her bringing in her sister as long as I can bring in my cousin. So he was like a kind of like my Mackenzie friend. So we went in there and I told her, said, look, this is Your Honor, this is what's happened over the years. It's not, I haven't taken this decision lightly. This is what's gone on. I said, unfortunately, the Section 7 report that you got from the child service worker is tainted. I said, I have a feeling that she's some kind of feminist misandrist. Because I said, I've shown her the case history. She told me I can't submit that to her, that I must bring that to court. Yeah, I said, I've looked in her Section 7 report and she's done first chapter, she's put in family history. And she's left out the dossier I provided her. So I said, already it's tainted. So then she's tried to say that this person that was a molester, convicted, served 8 years, has come out secretly and having day trips to London dungeons with my son. So I said, the mother's lying and trying to cover up and getting my son, coercing my son to say the same thing. So they said, oh, well, that can't work. How dare you? His mother. That's not true. The social worker's telling the truth. So I said, you want me to play the recording? So they said, that's not admissible in court, but I said, you can transcribe it. So when we had the next hearing now, I transcribed it.
Okay,
And then, because I had it recorded on my phone. When he said, because at the time I didn't tell him he was a molester. He just said, oh, Dad, I went, to London dungeons.
You knew by the name. You knew the name of the guy who done it.
I said, wait a minute. In my mind, I said, what, he's come out? I never knew he was out. So I said, look, yeah, I'm gonna have to transcribe it. So I went there thinking, yeah, look, banter rights. My son saying, yeah, he went London dungeons with this fella. It's true. It's where they found out when they tried to say, oh, I mixed up the dates. So I said basically what I was saying, he was still inside when I said he had contact with my son. So I said, think about it. Why would I even think about him? And how would I know he's out unless someone told me? So I said, I find it convenient that the child service workers tried to change the dates to make it like a year before it came out, like I was mistaken. That it's a tactical way of saying I'm lying. I said, look, she said, oh, his concerns are warranted, but the assailant was inside.
So what was the outcome of that case?
Yeah, I got 5 hours on the Saturday.
Oh, but they gave you 5 hours.
5 hours on a Saturday. Which they said it's up to him how often, if you want to extend it, because obviously he said if he wants to stay with you, we're not going to say it can only be 5 hours. But as a basic guideline, so 5 hours a Saturday.
So you took her to court, but what did you put in your statement when it went into court? What was you actually asking for?
I was asking for full residency.
So
and her to have supervised contact. That's what I put in.
And out of that, they only gave you 5 hours?
5 hours, man. 5 hours.
Okay, so on what grounds were they saying the reason
they said,
why?
Oh, you said with this back and forth because it was the first part of the court hearing. I say took about 18 months overall. So I said, oh look, you're not really seeing your son. You need to rebuild the relationship. This is the kind of way they try to coerce you. I said, rebuild the relationship. I said, how's that so? I said, I've seen him. He said, oh yes, but you've been to his school to go and see him, and you're sending presents without the mother's consent. So I said, I said, you're a gynocentric feminist. No, I'm just saying in terms of thing, he wants to live with the mother. Obviously, it's stated in the Section 7 report, he wants to live with his mother. I said, yeah, but I said, I know what you're dealing with, the voice of the child, but I said, I'm dealing with the best interests for my son, the best interest. He said, that doesn't always align. I said, a learned person would know that. I said, you're sitting up there with your powdered wig, in gowns, costumes, yeah, and telling me that. I said, think about it. Said, what reasonable man who loves their children would want someone to still maintain residency when they're exposing them to convicted molester who served 8 years? And I proved it to you now. Said, remember, she's actually confirmed that she lied in court because her sister's not here because it's another hearing now. So it's just me and her. Said, she's only doing that because there's no audience to shame her. I said, I've got the traits transcribed. I said, I had to pay £960 for this court's transcript. That's her next thing, because a lot of people, they don't do that. They think, oh, well, you're not allowed to record anything, or you go sent to prison, and you're not allowed to speak about these proceedings outside of that. I said, when I buy the transcript, I can. I said, otherwise you can lock me up. I willingly go to jail for that.
So how old was your son at the time when he said that he wanted to stay
He was
with
10.
his mum?
He's 10.
Okay.
He's 10. But what I find convenient on the Section 7 report, because I thought he was going to say, oh, I don't like him and thing. He turned around and said, the reason why is because I'm too strict and make him do his homework. So I said, my God. So to be fair, I was never the same with him again after that.
All right, so when that then happened, you was seeing him for 5 hours and all of that. What happened after that?
That only went on for about 4 or 5 months. Then he started to say, oh, you know what? Mum said I can't think anymore. I says, what you talking about? He said, yeah, because she said she don't like you the way you're chatting her. And you call police on my mother. I said, what are you talking about, son? I said, when I done that, it's because she had you around a Jimmy Savile type. So I said, would you want me to come in there and kick off the door and lick down your mother? Is that what you're telling me? He said, no. So I said, what? He said, when you're older and you have your own children, we'll see what you do then. So I said that to me that there's something wrong mentally. So I tried to get him actually counselling through Lighthouse. Because I said there's something wrong there. There's something wrong there.
But is it because he wanted to stay with his mum?
Yeah, no. But the thing is, he used to come. You see what happened? My son used to talk out both sides of his mouth. You come to mine. So Dad, that mum's got a new boyfriend. Mum's always going out. She's always trying to leave me with other people. Oh, Dad, my auntie, his friend hit me in my head. So I said, son, you're telling me these things for me to get steam. And then when I come in there and I like guns blazing, you're like, oh, Daddy. Says, son, I'm kind of fed up of you. I've watched you. You like talking out both sides of your mouth. And then what you saying? I said, your mum told me certain time when you say when you come in, oh, it's boring at Dad. He don't go nowhere. So I said, son. So we have to be proving what I'm doing with you in them way there. So I said, you're being divisive. I don't like it. Says stop talking out both sides of your mouth.
All right, let me ask you a question, and this is on a real question still. Like, how do you feel knowing that she was bringing or allegedly bringing?
Not allegedly.
So this is one. Okay, she was bringing men around your child, and you know that she's bringing men around your child. Like, how do you sleep at night? Does it bother you, or did it bother you?
Before I found out about this molester type, which was the baby father of her half sister, yeah, I was alright with it because the way I see, about 7 months before I got with my current wife, but in between I had, I was kind of warming back up to the whole campaign and said, yeah, swap out new, fresh. I said she's trying to get rid of the bad feeling out of my system. I said, I've been locking myself up. And so, but then obviously my wife came along and, she said, yeah, she ain't tolerating that. I said, if you want a serious relationship, we need to stop all that. So I thought, yeah, look, we went along. I'm fine with I'm not really thinking about all that.
Her child wanted to stay with her, so you couldn't actually have him full time. What happened after that?
Well, after that, it's 5 hours and disappeared to like every couple of weeks. Then I noticed when I used to say, son, you're going to come? Because he still used to ring me. I said, oh, son, why are you coming around? Oh, I'm busy, I'm going party. I said, party, son? He said, your younger brother is asking to see you. This time he's like a toddler now. So I said, he wants to see you. Oh, well, Dad, when you got other things to do, don't you go and do them? I said, no, not when it comes to my family, son. All
right, so let me ask you this question then, because you see my father principles and morals. What is your principles and morals when you're teaching your son?
In terms of what? In relationships or?
Relationship discipline?
Well, at that time he's young, so we wouldn't really talk about
I'm just talking about in general, just in general.
Well, when it comes to my children, I said, look, this is what we stand for. Look, I used to call it, as you say, the Buchanan Code. Kind of inspired from the stuff I used to read when I was young when they talked about families that built dynasties. I said, look, this is what we stand for, yeah? Death before dishonor, family first, you see it? And you must ride. When there's trouble, you don't second guess it. You see what I mean? You do the diagnosis and the reasons why later, yeah? You back your family. So that's how I kind of generalize it with my sons and my daughters. I said, and my nieces and my cousins said, look, this is what we stand for. So that way, if you're supporting, you'll have a unit. And from there, you can have other things in life. Because without interpersonal relationships, you don't have much. Because it's like a superpower. So if you have a mind, it's like this room full of money, and there's no one in it. There's no one to share it with. You say, what are you going to do? Drive from down the city in a fast car, sports car, by yourself, and there's no one there? I said, you soon see how soon you think, oh, what's this all for then? I said, there's got to be a bit more than, nice clothes, trips out. money, fast cars. You see what I mean? This has to be a bit more of in terms of legacy.
All right, so
So that's what I always show them.
So let me ask you this question then. What is your relationship now with the mother of your sons?
I work with my first son, his mother. I don't have anything to do with it. I blocked her. From once I went for the appeal hearing in 2021, and they said, we're not going to bring back, because I wanted them to bring back the child service worker so I could say, look, she lied in court, and then she's been avoiding come to court back since, and said, you've allowed it, and then she didn't I asked for addendum to change the legal document. Not much contact. So she's tried to email a few times, but I just blocked that now. I blocked it on mobile, on social media, on email. I don't really want to hear from her again. To be fair, my son's got my contact number. He's got my mobile. He reached out to me a few times since 2021 about our thing. I said, you can come around, son, but I would never allow you to take out your brother's sister, because he said, so no, not with the characters that you interact with. I'd never allow your younger siblings to be taken out of my sight with the kind of people you knock heads with. No way, no how. So I know that's upsetting. So he's been in trouble recently with the youth offence. Done things, to be fair, doing something similar that I done when I was younger. But I said, look, son, the difference is when I done that, I was doing it to protect my family. When you're doing that, you're doing it for stupidness. You're doing it for ego.
And how old is he now?
He's 17 now.
Okay, so is he been in trouble with the law in terms of...
No, it's the one time last year, February. He done something similar to me, offensive weapon. So I said, look, I can understand that, but he's telling them now that, I don't want you reporting back to my dad over these
Allegedly,
things. Allegedly. But I said, I don't want you reporting back to thing now.
All right, so I know you've been doing some good work. Obviously, he's showing a good role model to a son of the work that you're doing. Now, I know that you're involved to do with the Parliament. What's all that about?
The Westminster, the All Parliamentary Group for Fathers. What happened is like a subcommittee where they discuss how they're going to improve conditions for fathers in the UK in terms of, flexible working, more parental leave when you have, because at the moment they say, no, women need to work more, but because they're restricted to, the parental leave, the dad's only got 2 weeks, they've got 9 months, and they're thinking, how can you then say the mother might not want to be at home all the time, they might want to go back to work as soon as possible. And they said, and then they end up doing a lot of the domestic work and relying on the dad financially. So they said, in the name of gender parity, there should be splitting of the leave. But for some reason, the current government don't want that. And to be fair,
So what are you doing about it then? So what are you doing about it?
I'm trying to get more, just not just that, more leave for parents in general. And for dads, I'm trying to get it to where they get 9 months as well.
Oh. So 9 months for...
Yeah, for when you have a newborn, let's say if your partner's pregnant, they get 9 months off as well.
So you're trying to get that for dads?
Between them 4.5 months. So that's the best way.
So you're saying that you want fathers to have 4.5 months off with the child?
Yeah, with the child.
And then the mum has 4.5 months.
If she wants to go back, obviously not forced, but if they want to, because as much as people like to say, pair of parent, maternal instinct, there's no mother love, that's not always the case. Okay. I've seen a lot of, especially from the running around years. I remember one when I worked in MROPS in London Bridge, an Australian girl asked me, what do you prefer, your partner or your children? I said, my children, because they carry my DNA. I said, if I break up the partnership, move on with somebody else, there's no genetic relation then, I'm just a distant memory. So she said, that's odd, because I prefer my partner. So I was stunned. But then from the campaign work, I realized there's a few that's not really maternal like that.
But I don't understand that though. To just even what you're saying, I'm with you on that. Your kids should always come first in your relationship before the person you're dating, because as you said, the person can always pick up themselves and move on to a new relationship, but your kids are always going to be there. So when people are trying to put their partner on top of their child, I can't understand that. And to me, I think that's more of a turn off. I couldn't date a woman if she was putting me before her children. That couldn't sit well with me. So I'm with you on that. You get me? I'm with you on that.
You'd be surprised. Even as you've seen on social media, when them Americans were, it's got to be the man first, then the wife, then the children come third. That's the only way a household can function and stuff like that.
No,
and from that, and be going to church myself, I've seen there's a few people that tell you that. A few pastor man over here been saying that for years.
So what's your whole thing about the child support service? What's your understanding about it?
The child maintenance, it's child maintenance service now, because the child support agency, they got rid of it in 2011. And what they done is all the payments that were missed or were arrears was transferred from the child support agency to the child maintenance service. So when I looked into it now, from the campaign work through Split the Difference, Equal Start, and that, Daddy's Voices, I said they showed me the reports. I said, my word, they've inflated the arrears by 300%. So I said, how is that even legal? Then I saw they started to make plans to be able to go into your account and take out money without a court order. So I said, that's open to abuse. But it's all government where they want, the little fees, people are getting paid from it. So they don't keep this open in public. It's all under the surface. And if anyone kind of talks out, they kind of say, oh, we'll pull the rug out from underneath you, or, you'll never rise in your career if it's all that kind of stuff.
Control.
Yeah, so I said, imagine, you see the domestic abuse bill in 2021, they said coercive control. No bigger coercive than local authorities and central government. There's a lot of men committing suicide over it. There was one report that showed that basically there's 590 cases and 337 of them were false arrears, something similar like that. I'll have to check it, but something similar in terms of numbers. So I said, how is that possible? Because that mantra about deadbeat dads not paying their dues and things like that, they'll be taking, say, for instance, we got a promotion at work and they'll take the best year of your income and make that as the payments that you have to make. Instead of the average over the thing. So I said, how is that possible? And they said, well, if you're a responsible dad, you should be happy to pay and do more. I said, yeah, most people try to. But I said, in a cost of living crisis with the average salary, what is it, 32,000 in the UK? I said, how do you expect them to be able to have two different households, manage their own rent, maybe have other children somewhere else, and then they want everything, or they want the main portion? So, especially when mothers get child benefit, tax credits, because it's not until I became the resident parent for my daughter that I said, wait a minute, they're making still some money. £82 child benefit, £150 tax credits.
A week?
No.
Okay. A month.
A month. I said, yeah, but obviously if you're working, I said, wow, that's a little thing. Remember, that's only one. So imagine if I had both of my boys as well under me as well. I said, my word. I said, you're talking about over £1,000 a month.
Sean, time is up. So I want to say thank you for coming down today, my bro, and for sharing your story. Is there anything you would like to say before we go?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. People, we live in a country where you have men and women, mother and fathers. In order for things to be prosperous and the child to grow up in the best environment, in my opinion, we've got to come to some kind of mutual agreement, and it's got to be stable and consistent regardless of how you feel about your partner, especially when it comes to like involving local government and family courts and things like that. Child maintenance service, all it does is eat and disintegrates the family structure. It's like a drip effect, time and pressure. And my whole purpose coming in today, as you know, with the Equal Start, trying to make sure there's a better gender parity, because at the moment it's too much focus on, the feministic viewpoint and not on the man viewpoint, especially with dads. So when you breed that kind of imbalance, it becomes dysfunctional, and that's where you get the misogyny. So you don't have a happy society by creating circumstances that breed resentment. There needs to be love and connection. So I said, we need to come together. There has to be like, and the mindset of, you're just a dad, that has to be abandoned because it's odious. Especially from when I've seen from my grandparents' time come down, how it's much better now where a lot more men are involved. There's none of this real distance where it says, I don't want nothing to do with the situation. That's a bastard child, you're on your own. So it's if the dads are willing, work with them. They may not be able to give you as much money as they can, but nothing substitutes time. You can't redeem time. You can't buy back time.
Time and love.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're doing that, I said you need to be coming together, making arrangements so it's consistent and being a welcome haven, not something that's toxic where it said, oh, you know what, I just can't stand this situation. I don't want to be around them because I don't like the mother. He said you want it to be, you have your boundaries, but you want it to be welcoming enough so where there's, you know, genuine love and respect there. So they want to come and collect their child. There's none of this, oh, what's she going to do? Call police on me if we have an argument or make false allegations, which you know is a big thing. So we need to come together. My mantra for that is justice in our time. And where there's people, there's power.
Agree. Well said, Sean. Well said. So listen up, everyone. I want to hear your lot's views today on today's episode in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and don't forget to press that like button. That's very important. Make sure you press that like button and make sure as well you look out for more episodes, all right? Also as well, just before I actually go, also do check out the Baby Father's website if you are looking for help, if you are having difficulties of seeing your child. And while you're there, do feel free to check out all our merchandise as well on our online store, which the top that I'm wearing today is My Baby Mother Always Gives Me a Headache. And we also have tops saying Father Raises Queens and Father Raises Kings. Do check them out, all right? That's all on the Baby Father's website, all right? So from myself, DJ Riddler, and from Sean.
Thank you.
Peace. And we out. Also, something else new to the Baby Fathers this year we're also introducing is a show called Have Your Say. The good thing about this show is that we go live once a week, which is every Thursdays at 8 p.m, where we go live and where you can actually call up and have your say to based on whatever topic we decide to choose on that particular show. So make sure you check it out, which happens every Thursdays at 8 p.m. right here on the Baby Fathers platform live on YouTube. All right.